I read from my YouTube channel description. The projects that will see the light in this recreational space cover a variety of topics, including customization of popular vintage toys and action figures from the 80s and the 90s, as well as the recreation anew of toys, accessories, equipment, weaponry, vehicles, and playsets. But have I actually done any of it so far?
Nope.
So let's give it a go. The subject of this video is a Mantenna figure with evident signs of playwear. The figure came to me like this, missing his right arm but sporting Clawful's right arm instead.
No kidding.
The legs of the figure fell off long ago, but I still have them. The paint on both eyes is completely faded. The pin of the lever that activates Mantenna's iconic eye gimmick is broken. How could a kid manage to break this pin?
A kid of unusual strength? He surely was.
But let's jump right into this project. For the sake of completeness, I'm covering the figure's leg band repair as well. If you're not new to this, feel free to skip to the next chapter. First, I have to dig the worn-off band completely out. Putting the legs for about a minute in freshly boiled water makes this operation much easier. Fortunately, I've got this tool from back when I was a dental technician, one of the two ends of which has a spoon-shaped tip, which I find very useful in this phase. Too bad this old rubber band is particularly rotten and it all breaks into tiny pieces. Moreover, Mantenna's leg holes are a little smaller if compared to those of the other figures, I'm telling you. Now that both holes are cleaned up from the rubber, I take a straight pick and poke a starter hole right straight down the middle of the cavity. This is just a guide hole, so it'll be much easier to later screw the eye hooks into place. For this figure, I am using eye hooks with a diameter of 8 mm. The O-ring I use is a really meaty one. O-rings like these are very tough and do their job just fine. So I go ahead and open up the first of the two eye hooks. I like to use round nose pliers provided with serrations that grant me a fine grip. I open the eye hook just enough for the O-ring to fit in there and then close it. I then screw the hook into the first leg, just until it's firmly in place. In my opinion, it's better to keep the hook in line with the parting line of the leg, to get a proper orientation. Okay, first leg done. Now I need to make myself a tool that will allow me to slip the O-ring all through the hip cavity of the figure, from side to side. I use this tool to hook the rubber ring and slip it all the way through the hole inside the hip of the figure, till it comes out from the other side. I grab it with pliers and block it in this fashion with a rod or with a screwdriver. I put away the iron wire since I no longer need it. Open the second screw eyelet, get it hooked into the O-ring, and screw the eye hook into the second leg. Once the legs are both held on, the last step is to tighten them up by screwing the hook a little bit more. The vintage Mantenna action figure has a lever right on his back. By lifting the lever up, you can activate his popping out eye gimmick. Now the pin of the lever has been snapped off, leaving a broken surface, which is a mess. It's not at all even, and nothing would ever stick on it, I think. So I have to work it and make it flat. As you can see, the room is very limited, but I happen to have the smallest chisel I made myself long ago for precision works, and I use it to level up the stump. Now, the closest match with Mantenna's back pin I could find among my bits is this LEGO Technics red pin, but I know if I glue it on the lever as it is right now, it would stick, but certainly not be able to bear the stress of two fingers moving the lever up and down. And that is why I reinforce the connection between the parts, embedding a steel nail into the pin. In this way, I managed to make it work, like if it was new. I think Clawful is a really awesome figure and all, so don't get me wrong on this, but I don't really feel like keeping his arm on this Mantenna figure. I have an idea in mind, but first I have to make a copy of Mantenna's left arm. Being this copy made of hard resin, There's no way to attach it to Mantenna's torso, if not after enlarging the shoulder socket with my Dremel. Perfect, now I have a Mantenna figure with 2 left arms.
So what?
My idea is to repurpose this McDonald's lightsaber gadget into a Hurricane Hordak style arm cannon for my Mantenna figure. You see how, after removing the actual lightsaber from inside, the handle part looks just like a cannon. I love this bit because it's already got plenty of details. Check this part out. The thing is kept together with a triangular screw.
What the?
If they think I'll buy a whole set of triangular screwdrivers to get this job done, they obviously don't know who they're dealing with. The way I found to outsmart them consists in taking a triangular file and cutting off his pointed tip with a Dremel abrasive disc. And voila! It works like a charm. I take from the arm only the part I need, and I do the same thing with the lightsaber handle. I am going to use only the detailed end of it. From the leftover bit, I cut off the very bottom, which I also use as a bottom for my cannon, to provide the arm with a wide, flat surface to be glued onto. You certainly remember how Mantenna, like some other figures from Wave 4, came with a crossbow. The crossbow, with its animal head sculpt, is a very distinctive feature of this character that I simply cannot overlook in my customization. I proceed cutting the very tip of the lightsaber gadget to make it able to rotate independently. A pipe that matches the inner diameter of the lightsaber will keep it in place. The lightsaber narrows down with a ring at its very end. I want to exploit this feature to make the tip of the cannon able to rotate but not falling off, so I use a small plastic lid to block it from the inside. At this point, it's only a matter to cut the pipe to size and glue all the components together, including the bottom of the cannon. Before moving forward, let me take care of this beautiful surface here, would you? See how it's all black? Let me make these circuit-like patterns stand out a bit more. Much better. Now the cannon is ready to be glued on the arm. You see now how Mantenna's brand new cannon arm, with its swiveling tip, is all glued together. To make the actual bow, I need nothing more than a curved piece cut from a big PVC pipe. To make the parts stick better to the convex surface of the cannon, some upgrading is needed. A removable missile that fits incredibly well inside the cannon is an additional feature I feel like adding to the custom, for the sake of playability. The cannon is then given a black wash to tie all the different parts together, and the actual arm, after a coat of white primer, is painted with ultramarine blue. The customization goes on, making Mantenna a round shield. I've always loved the sculpt on the vintage MOTU round shields, so, inspired by those, I sketched a round shield with a big eye in the middle, to further exploit the theme of Mantenna being a spy for Hordak. Going through my junk, I happened to come across a little flying saucer toy, not only perfect to make a shield as far as dimensions and color concern, and not only giving me plenty of MOTU vibes, but also featuring eyelids just like my sketch. Now you tell me if this is not synchronization. I cut the saucer open, removing the back, and with the almighty brown stuff I fill up the void inside, and model a big eye, elongating the pre-existing eyelids. On second thoughts though, I wish I kept the eye smaller, just like it was at the beginning, without making it so bulky. I have the feeling I overdid it a little.
Without mentioning the fact
that this big mass of brown stuff is very heavy. I then cut off the end part of an assault rifle and use it to make a clip to be glued onto the shield. A clip that fits just perfectly Mantenna's wrist. One of the major problems with vintage Mantenna figures is that the paint on their eyes tends to wear off very easily over time. And as you can see, the figure I have here is no exception. How would you solve this problem? Repainting them?
Sorry, not at Denny's.
What would be a non-tedious way to solve this issue then? Gluing these ready-made eyes right onto the old ones. And probably use some white putty to make a smoother transition from the eye bulbs to the blue rubber. As often happens when I use milliput clay, I have leftovers, and each time I think about a nice way to use them up. Never like this time though, could I manage to make something more appropriate with them? A beast head for Mantenna's crossbow, clearly inspired by old school sculpts like these. I glue it onto the leftover piece of that missile we've seen before, and give it a black wash. Now I have a wonderful beast head that can be turned according to the orientation of the crossbow. Sincerely, I also thought about a method to reproduce those hideous red veins Mantenna has on his eyes, but nothing interesting really came up to my mind yet. There might be an update in the future, who knows. I'd like to thank all the new subscribers to the channel, as well as the old aficionados. Your support is extremely precious. Thank you so much for stepping by at Dennis Recreational Space. Till next one.